Hey guys, this is Coach Butler, and I wanted to send you this video to share with you how I want us to line up this season, the type of soccer that I want us to play, the formation and tactics. I'll probably send out a few more videos throughout the course of the season as I see things we need to work on and improve. And seeing as we haven't had that many practices so far before the first game, which still hoping is going to be this weekend, I thought it would be helpful for the players and the parents to see what I'm thinking. Now, this formation's a little different than you may be used to. A lot of folks at this level, 9 versus 9, are going to line up something like this with a single goalkeeper, three at the back, two midfielders, three strikers. Some folks will do it a little differently. They'll do three midfielders and two strikers. What we're going to do is different, and we're doing it for a couple of reasons that I'll explain. Um, Primarily, though, I feel like this is the best way to develop individual players and prepares them most for stepping up to 11v11 later on. And this is actually what a lot of the professional coaches recommend U9s do now because of that transition ability to 11 versus 11. Now, on paper, it looks like a 4-3-1, so four defenders, three midfielders, and a single striker or forward. May seem defensive on paper, but it actually allows us to do a lot more things and commit more people forward, and I'll show you some of the shapes that it creates as well. So seems defensive, but don't worry about that. We're going to have a lot of attacking flair this season, hopefully score a lot of goals, and maybe win one or two games as well, who knows. So when we are defending, one of the things I want us to do is stay very compact. We're not going to spread out too far. We're going to fill in the gaps. That means the four defenders, and I'll go through each of these positions in their roles and responsibilities in a little bit. But for all intents and purposes, we've got a left wing back, left center back, right wing back, a center midfielder, a left midfielder, a right midfielder, and a center forward. So this is how we're going to line up. I'm going to want the center backs, left and right, when the opposition's taking a kickoff, to line off up right on the edge of the 18-yard box on the corner of the semicircle that's right there on the edge. And then I want the left and the right wing backs just forward a little bit, about 3 or 4 paces in front of the 18-yard box, but kind of parallel there with that line. So then we have the midfield. This center midfielder is always going to be slightly in front of the defenders. Their job is going to be, we'll talk about this in a little bit, a holding midfielder, which means they're protecting the defense all the time. And then these two more attacking midfielders, left midfielder and right midfielder, are going to fill in these big gaps right here on their side of the field. And then the attacker, center forward, is going to be the furthest forward. Their job's always going to be to stretch the field as much as possible. So this is how we're going to line up. What I want to talk about a little bit is as play develops, what naturally happens. So even though we got four defenders, primarily the center defenders, center back, left and right, are going to be the only ones staying all the way back. So say we get the ball, what's going to happen is I want this center forward, the striker, to push up as far as they can in line with or slightly behind the last defender. They're stretching the field. That allows these midfielders here to push up and really attack whoever's got the ball on the defending team up there. So they're going to push up all the way, almost acting like additional strikers. So that way when we have the ball, we're pushing hard. We're going to have three people committed near or in the penalty box of the opposition. This frees up some big gaps where I want the left and right. We're going to call them wing backs, even though they're defenders. I don't know if you watched the World Cup this past year, but England played with wing backs, so sort of fullbacks traditionally, but they have the license to push forward. So although their primary responsibility is always going to be defending, we do allow them to push up all the way and fill in these gaps. So they're the ones that are going to be the widest often on the field. Occasionally they're going to make runs down here and cross the ball. But for all intents and purposes, a lot of times they're going to be filling in this gap, kind of this final third quadrant of the field right around there. Knowing that when the ball gets lost, the opposition gets the ball and starts attacking, they've got to run back really quickly and come back into position ready to defend. So these guys are going to have to be pretty fit, running up and down the field a lot. Um, the center midfielder is always going to be pushing up as well, supporting. This is the person that's going to break down a lot of plays, intercept a lot of balls, and I don't really want the center midfielder to do a lot of dribbling up the field. I think it's okay for these folks to do a lot of dribbling, but this person, if they lose the ball, that leaves us at a lot of risk. So the center midfielder, whoever that is, and I'm going to rotate players throughout games. Uh, their job is to break down plays, intercept balls, receive the ball from the defense, and always give the other players an option to pass. But when they get the ball, look up and make a pass. We'll talk about the passing opportunities in a second. And then the center backs are going to push up right behind the halfway line as far as they can. Now, sometimes they might have an opposition who's trying to stretch the play just like we're going to do. Don't let them fool at you. You know, be aware of the offside trap. So if the player's slowly coming back here, there's a tendency to want to keep coming back with them. But we know that the offside rule means that they can't be that side of us. So always try to stretch them back towards the halfway line. I want often when we've got the ball, say it's up here, we're attacking, the ball's somewhere in the final third. I want these centre backs to be right behind the halfway line as much as possible, a little compact, kind of each side of the centre circle like that. And that, as you see, what started out as a defensive formation is now a very attacking formation because we're committing all but our goalkeeper and two defenders into the opponent's half. And speaking of goalkeeper, I'm going to want an active goalkeeper this season. We're going to rotate between a few different players, but this player is almost going to play sometimes like a sweeper. So they're going to get to push up, not really, but beyond the 18-yard box, maybe right on the edge when the ball's all the way in the opponent's half. But a lot of times they're going to be moving forward as the ball moves forward, moving back as the ball moves back. But be ready to, if the opponent does play a long ball and beats the offside trap, which can happen sometimes when we're playing this aggressive, if this attacking player right here does manage to break the offside trap and runs through, this goalkeeper has to be aware of that and ready to come out and just clear the ball. No nonsense. So that's how I'm looking to play. I want to talk a little bit about the shape as we progress. What you'll notice is this allows us to create diamonds, and I'm a big fan of creating diamonds in soccer. It allows for what you've often heard as triangle passing. So wherever the ball is, it gives our players options. So as we've committed ourselves forward, say this guy right here has the ball, he's always got at least one, two options, and as soon as that person gets the ball, they've always got one, two options, and so on. Everyone in this field, as you look at it, is always going to have a couple of options, and one of the options is often to go backwards as well, which is okay at this level. I don't like playing that too early in the season until we get comfortable with each other, but as the season progresses, what you'll see is we'll play the ball from the back a little more, and we'll encourage backwards passing as well. For the most part, the first couple of games, as we get comfortable with each other, I get a feel for the players, and they develop their skills. What we're always going to be looking for is to get the ball forward in triangles like this. So let's bring the players back a little bit. I'm going to talk about the individual roles. So let's reset this. Okay. Okay, so center forward, their role, as I discussed earlier, is always going to be pushing the defense as far up the field as possible. But when we're defending, I also want this person to be pressuring the ball a lot. This person needs to run, but they don't need to come back and defend into our half. When the ball's in the opponent's half, if it's kind of in the central region of the field, I always want this person pressing the ball, like not giving the opponents enough time to think or make good passes. They're going to be pressuring. When we have the ball, I want them to be the furthest person forward, looking to break the offside trap, looking to make runs as much as possible. So that's the center forward. And you got the letters underneath the players, but there's also this key on the right here if you're not sure which player I'm referring to. These left midfielders are going to be more attacking midfielders, like I said. I want them, when we're defending, to come back all the way to the penalty area when needed, but really to try to stay in the central two-thirds of the field when the opposition has the ball, and then when we have the ball, pushing up all the way to the final third as well in trying to get in the box. These are the guys that when the ball's getting crossed in from the sides, say one of our players has the ball over here, I always want these left or right midfielders to be on the opposite, what we call back post. So right around the edge of the 6 yard box, as long as they're onside, but sort of parallel with the back post, so they can come in when the ball comes across and just get a touch on it and knock it in. So the left and the right midfielders are going to be doing that, but these guys are probably going to be running more than anyone on the field because I want them always energetic. I'll rotate these positions a lot because I want this person always pressuring the ball when it's anywhere in the opponent's half, in this side, and then when it comes into the first part of our half as well. So that's the left and the right midfielders. Again, they're going to be really more attacking midfielders than defending midfielders, but we're going to call them midfielders. This center midfielder, again, I'm going to refer to this as the holding midfielder. Their job is really to police the defense. Their job is to make sure they're always a little bit in front of the center backs, but always willing to cover when needed. So if for whatever reason during the game we lose our shape and one of the center backs gets out of position, this center midfielder is always going to have to be aware of that and ready to slot in and protect. So their job is really protection and distribution. So they're going to protect the defense. If they get the ball, no nonsense, they're going to kick it up. And there's usually going to be the attacking midfielder is going to be up here. Once we get the ball, I want us to transition quickly, get these defenders up as well, the wing backs. So the center midfielder is always going to have multiple triangle options to distribute long balls up the field. We'll probably work more on short passes later in the season, but initially, no nonsense, clear it out of our half. Anyone that gets the ball in our half, I really just want them to get it up in triangles outside, wide. So that's the center midfielder's role. Always should be sitting right in front of the defense. If we're pressing like this again, if the center midfielders all the way up here, center defenders are all the way up here, then I want the center midfielder kind of filling in the gap between our offending players and the defense right here. They're kind of the patrolling police, making sure our defenders don't get exposed. Alright, let's bring those back a little bit, and then we'll talk about the center backs and the wing backs. So again, the wing backs, although their primary responsibility is defense, these guys are going to have to pay attention to what we're going to work on throughout the season, which is transition. The transition between us having the ball and us losing the ball. So when we have the ball, say we're working it back out from the back with our goalkeeper, these guys are going to go wide and give our goalkeeper and our center defenders options. When they're defending, they're going to come in more narrow, more compact. So when we're attacking, we want space. When we're defending, we don't want space. So these guys are going to start out back here, but when we get the ball, they're going to spread out on the wings, and they're going to have the ability to make runs. I'll probably use some of our faster players in these roles because I'm going to want them to run down the wing, cross the ball, things like that. But they can't shirk their responsibility of defending. So if they do those runs, they've got to be prepared if we lose the ball to sprint back as fast as they can and cover. And these two need to be kind of working, the left and the right wing back need to work together in tandem, so they're aware where their ball is, where the other one is. So if one's really overcommitted up here, I don't really want the other one to get really committed as well. That would mean that this person on the weak side of the field, strong side being where the ball is, on the weak side of the field, this person's going to be a little more conservative and hang back a little bit. Just they're going to have to be aware. That will be a little tough for the kids early in the season, but as they develop relationships and understand the system a little more, I think we'll see that kind of symbiotic relationship develop. And then finally, the center backs and the goalkeeper. These three need to work as a unit. Like I said earlier, as the center backs push forward, the goalkeeper should push forward a little bit too. Never really going outside of his 18-yard box, but ready to fill in this gap if needed be. Center backs, I don't want the center backs ever going into the opposing half. Right on the edge of the half is fine, but equally I don't want them sitting back here the whole game. We always want to claim territory in soccer. So if the ball's in the opponent's half, we always want to be pushing up, taking away this part of the field as much as possible, but getting ready to run back if the ball goes over our heads or goes through the gap in the middle. So in this case, if we've got the ball, we're pushing forward. The defenders, center backs, I'm going to be shouting a lot at these guys in a loving, encouraging way, but I'll be yelling at them to push up as soon as we get the ball, because I don't like defenders sitting too deep. It gives the opposition way too much territory, like I said. So these guys are going to be pushing up when we got the ball. When we don't have the ball, they're going to be coming back. Uh, and usually, depending on where the ball is, they're going to be shifting a little bit left and right, but they're never really too far apart. These guys are always going to kind of work as a team as well, just like these left and right wing backs are going to work as a team. The center backs are going to have to communicate a lot and stay kind of together. So we'll talk about that specific positioning in a later video and in later practices. But these guys just need to be disciplined, make sure they don't overcommit and lose shape. But in the off chance they do, again, remember the center midfielder can drop back and cover them while that happens. So that's it for the first video. Hopefully that helps you guys. We're going to go over this hopefully in practice this week before the first game, or at least the few minutes we have before the first game if we don't get to practice this week. But that's the formation we're looking at employing. Again, I'm going to rotate kids a lot, so if they're going to get opportunities to be offensive players and defensive players. We're going to rotate goalie as well. I've got a couple of players that like to play goal, and we'll get them as much time as we can. But if there's other players that are interested in that position, I like to give everyone an opportunity as well. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, then shoot me an email and let me know. And if you like this video, also let me know if you want to see more of these. I'd be glad to make them. If there's quite specific questions about tactics or things that you see in a game that you're unsure about as a player or as a parent, and you want me to explain it, I can do another one of these videos as well. So I hope to see you out there on the field soon. Thanks a lot.